Hi, everyone. Welcome to Starview. My name is Sharrie. I'm an author, astrologer, and I specialize in shadow work.
Hi, my name is April, and I'm an artist, and I'm also a witch and an astrologer.
Hi, my name's Kim Green. I'm a marriage and family therapist and an astrologer.
Hi, I'm Sharon, a WellFit coach. Enjoy our insights. We all love astrology. Hmm.
All right. Today, we're going to discuss King Charles and his coronation. All right. Where do we want to start? Well, I definitely want to start with the nodal return, which
Yeah,
is fascinating to me.
yeah. That was the first thing I noticed too. It's exact, pretty much.
Mhm.
Exact, which is
Right.
mind-boggling to me.
And
Right.
conjunct Jupiter, even though it's out of sign, conjunct Jupiter within 6 degrees
Yeah,
there.
and Mercury and the Sun and Uranus in his
Mhm.
10th house. I mean, really? That is quite a stellium there. It's saying a lot about his inheritance.
I think it
Yeah.
says a lot that Chiron is there also
Yeah,
with
I was
regards
checking it.
to his wounding and the passing, of the crown to him. He's kind of old, and it's like I can see that he's kind of a little bit sad about it now that we've looked at his natal chart, and I know that he wanted to be king earlier. I've been looking at that Chiron there, and thinking that's like a wounded king.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but that is so true.
No.
Also, the next thing that I saw in his chart was that Venus, money, is conjunct his Uranus. And it's not unexpected, but Uranus rules his eighth house of inheritance, which is so fascinating.
Mm,
I find it interesting that Mars is in his 12th house.
Yeah.
So that could indicate some, hidden actions or hidden, who knows.
Well, the way I saw
In
it
the
was,
sign of Cancer also, which is
yeah,
more lunar activity, the lunar theme that keeps coming up with him. The Mars in Cancer was more of that lunar theme, I think.
the way I saw his Mars in the 12th house was, because it's in Cancer, which is, he's inheriting the crown from his mother, but it's the ruler of the 10th house. So, and it's through some sort of loss, some kind of ending of a cycle. And the Mars, represents her passing, or, something. It wasn't really an accident, and it, wasn't really unexpected, but it's still, because it's the ruler of his 10th house, I could see how it could indicate that. So kind
Right,
of initiation into leadership, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
right. And the 12th house is like a late initiation also,
Mhm.
or sort of, I don't know, it seems so, yeah, late in the game, it feels like, that's all.
And maybe
Well,
releasing some of the secrets, of the throne to him. Kim, I
Right.
think
With Black Moon Lilith being in the first house right there. That's what I was thinking about. It's related, yeah.
conjunct Pluto.
Yeah.
yeah. And maybe that's going to have some sort of effect on how he presents as king. Because I think, the houses are all lined up. Like the house, they're off a little bit, but they're lined up with his birth houses, which would indicate, I think,
Natal.
that he's going to put a very personal stamp on the monarchy. Like it's going to be
Right.
kind of like he is. He's not going to vary. He may actually, you know, lean away from being as traditional, because I think that was part of the thing he got when Diana was still alive, he was always considered stodgy and old fashioned and everything, and she wasn't, and so maybe now I'm sure he remembers that. Is going to try and I really haven't been paying attention to what he's done since then because I really don't watch news that much.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's
Other-
changed much or not.
The only thing we've heard is that that he has cancer. I think that's
Yeah.
that's been the main news. Nothing, I mean, not that we ever really know because we don't live in England anyway, but unless it's major news, we don't really find out. So I guess nothing significant. He was
Another
having,
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
he was having an exact Saturn opposition too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that is a turning point through some kind of crisis event, which is his inheritance, I guess, of money in the
Right.
8th house. That's where I'm getting all of that from.
Yeah, I see.
Mhm.
I think the Pluto in his 7th house may play along with that. I don't know. Open enemies. He may they may come to light, or he may have a lot of open enemies. Because I think I heard something to the effect that people were protesting at the coronation. I didn't watch it.
Right, because they didn't like the fact that they're spending all this money on a coronation.
Yeah.
I guess it's a financial protest or whatever, they were upset about the financial situation, which everybody is.
Right.
Which makes sense with Uranus conjunct the sun, some kind of revolution around leadership. And Mercury, the speaking out, communicating it in the 10th house.
Right. He's inheriting a revolutionary country.
Yeah.
And maybe Uranus conjunct his sun in the 10th house would also mean he will revolutionize the monarchy in some way.
Yeah, exactly. And the interesting thing is Pluto was squaring his moon at the time of the ceremony. Of course, because it's in the 6th house, I'm assuming it's his health. But that's an interest. I think that may be the only thing in his chart that looked a little like, oh wow, couldn't they have waited? But I mean, you can't really wait for Pluto. That's going to take forever to move off.
You can't wait anymore with somebody his age too, he doesn't wait any longer.
Yeah, that's not going to help him.
That is pretty cool that it was on his nodal return.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, wow, you can't make that up, right?
Right.
Exactly. Now look at his moon conjunct his sun on the day of coronation. And the sun is making a trine to, what is it making a trine to? Oh, Neptune and to Mars. Yeah. Mars and Neptune. So it's a water trine.
Right, there's a lot of water element stuff. So I gathered there's a lot of emotions that are underneath the surface with this person. And that, that's one of the reasons why I think that maybe he'll be able to spill out some of the, some of the secrets are going to just start coming out, spilling out all of this water element stuff that I see.
Because the apex being his personality, his sun.
Right.
The apex of the
Yeah. His own, because sun also could be leadership, and the moon, some kind of emotional, maybe outburst in some way, conjuncting his sun and trining that Neptune. And well, at least it's in a trine to Neptune and Mars. Speaking out, maybe because Mars is in a trine to the sun, so maybe he won't be as silent as the monarch usually is. And
and the Venus conjunct his Uranus in the 11th house. So maybe how he cares about maybe the subjects, the people of England, or it might have something to do with his money.
Well, that's definitely his inheritance right there,
Yeah.
because it's conjunct Uranus that rules his eighth house of inheritance. And Venus is, and Venus also is in his fourth house, natally.
Yeah.
And we believe also this is connected to his inheritance with his mother and the whole lineage, ancestry line.
Mhm.
I got my little small chart pulled up on here, so if I can't see his
So Venus opposing Jupiter, conjunct Uranus and opposing Jupiter. What do you guys think of that? And it's from the 11th to the 5th house axis.
Venus in the 11th house, opposing Jupiter, and is that the 5th? Yeah. It's like the values and the will of the people in Venus, and Gemini representing more than one, and opposing the Jupiter in Sagittarius, sort of representing the monarchy. To me, I see it as like royalty. It's going to be this like, it's an open aspect. We can see that there's a point to which something's going to change, and he's a part of this change, because Venus conjuncting his Uranus means that there's probably something internally changing inside of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe the values of the people kind of opposite his personal philosophy, or maybe some of the values. So he's going to have to, weigh that out.
Yeah.
Or work with it. What wasn't his coronation like right after an eclipse?
Yes. Which
Because
was,
they say that like the royal family, eclipses play a big part in their lives anyway. So I don't know if maybe the eclipse being shortly before the coronation may have some sort of that his rule may not be that long, or his reign maybe.
you were saying that eclipses play a part in their chart, and you can see his moon was getting ready to move to 22 degrees, probably within a day or so. So he was born like a day or so before an eclipse.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting you're saying that. And I don't know if there's such a thing when they rule during an eclipse. That's what you're saying? When they get crowned during an eclipse? It's
right around an eclipse.
It's an omen of not ruling for very long?
I don't know. I was saying it could be.
Oh, okay. I think they picked this because his chart is just so lined up with it. And yeah, that Saturn opposite Saturn, exact nodal return, stellium in the 10th house, trines everywhere. Saturn actually is trining Mercury. And like I said, the sun trine Mars and the sun trine Neptune. Trines everywhere.
Yeah.
And Jupiter trine Jupiter. That's another one we didn't see. I knew there was one more I couldn't see. Right there. I mean, Saturn opposed Saturn, Jupiter trine Jupiter, nodal return. I mean.
That's so crazy. And the nodal return, the axis being Taurus and Scorpio, is interesting because his mother is a Taurus and he's a Scorpio. So interesting to me, the passing of that responsibility during that particular axis of eclipse.
And from an esoteric perspective, if you have planets in Taurus and Scorpio at the same time, especially if it's important planets like the nodes and the moon and the sun, it's indicative of someone who's a magician. So, the dark story, that makes sense. And look at it, 10th and 4th house.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's interesting. I know, I kind of wonder how much of a power struggle there was between him and his mother, actually.
There was a lot. If the Netflix show is correct, there was a lot. He was so frustrated, and she just kept denying him. And she would even, at one point, it even seemed she was considering it, and then at the 11th hour, she changed her mind. So you know how disappointing that was for him.
Oh my
This was in his
goodness.
prime, like in his 30s or 40s, when you're ready for the position. Well, he could have been older. I'm just assuming that's his age, but yeah.
Right. But that would set somebody up for a lot of resentment and for maybe gathering a lot of secrets. And, that could it could turn on the royal family, treating him like that, and then if he got treated like that, then I'm sure, the all of the generations that followed felt that way too. Like everybody felt like they were being held back probably by the queen at the time.
So would that speak with his sun and moon opposition?
Yeah, I would say that. They're not really in close conjunction because it's like 22 degrees apart, but they're in opposite houses. But if I remember correctly from the Netflix show, it was the reason she considered stepping down was because the monarch was losing popularity. And she felt pressured that she would need to give the crown over, but then changed her mind in the last minute, thinking that it would be a sign of her weakness. So at least that was the reason she gave for not stepping down.
I wonder how much Charles and Diana's divorce played into that decision. Because that really...
It was around the time of their divorce too, so that also was part of the mixture of what was going on. I don't know, but you're right. It could have had something to do with it.
Because I think, Mom approved of Diana because he evidently always loved Camilla.
Yeah.
So that had to be. And what I find interesting too, his natal 12th house is Cancer, and Diana was a Cancer sun, Camilla's a Cancer sun, and Prince William is a Cancer. So their sons all fall in his 12th house, which is just interesting to me.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's something definitely dealing with past life connections, because 12th house is some kind of karmic past life connection, maybe through an ancestral line or something. At least that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Do we know, when was his Cancer announced? Was it after the coronation?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Like maybe, actually, I think I looked it up. I think it was early this year, February.
Okay, so I don't know why I was thinking it was long.
February or March, something like that. And there was something going on in his progress chart. I believe his sun and moon either was about to make a conjunction, progress sun and progress moon, or had just made a conjunction. I don't know. It was something with them coming together when the announcement was made. But that's another chart. So
yeah.
Yeah, but his chart is just like so.
Well, we know Pluto's gonna
It's a very precise
his
chart.
7th, and conjunct that 7th house for his whole reign, or in that 7th house.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's going to dip a little bit back into that 6th house, but so maybe that has something to do with the Cancer too. When it was in the 6th, maybe it was developing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Pluto is in your 6th house. If you don't transform at some level on health, it's going to give a little, not even a little, pull the rug.
A hard push.
A hard push off a cliff.
A hard push.
Hope you have a parachute.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder about his cancer and, all of this emotional undercurrent that is, in his chart, all of these emotions. And it's like he's stuffing them down. And that's, notoriously one of the ways that people get cancer.
Yeah,
It's very
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
Yeah,
and
to
yeah.
see
probably
Mars
that's
in
a
probably
the,
good
in
cat
those,
taker.
repressed anger from the mom, possibly. Yeah.
Mhm,
Well, not
right.
her not handing over the crown.
Right. A lot of his existence is around that lunar energy, around what she was doing and what he could do, whether she said it was okay or not, and I'm sure that
Mm,
it's just a lot of repression went into that. And
yeah.
so a lot of repressed anger, I think, being a Scorpio sun,
Intense. Oh my God. And Pluto in the
right?
first house. Oh my God.
Right, right. Taurus moon,
Oh
all of
God,
these very, very
emotional.
strong emotional placements, but he's been portrayed as such a like wibbly guy, in the media, And so I just think that it's the this whole time he's been kind of attacked. I don't know.
You know what? I think
Interesting to see.
also he feels like, I think, I'm not in his head, but I'm considering the possibility that maybe he felt punished for not staying with Diane and honoring, his legacy that way. And his mom, so because he didn't he disobeyed, what they needed. He feels
Mm.
punished, so he never got the throne, at least till now.
She was being spiteful now.
Yeah, or I think he felt
Yeah.
slighted. He really did,
Mm.
but
I
he
wonder
wasn't
if
getting
he really
along with
wanted.
their game.
I wonder if he ever really wanted the throne.
He did, at least based on the Netflix presentation, and it seems pretty accurate.
I was gonna say, if he didn't want it at this age, he wouldn't be accepting it, right?
Yeah, he would
Well, I
have
think
just
they have
Mm.
to, don't they?
no.
Can they turn it down?
You could pass it on,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
at his age. Definitely, definitely.
Oh.
No, he was just bursting with all these ideas. And I think it's that Mars and Jupiter in the fifth house, like just wanting to express it in a really creative way. And that's how he would really talk about it, sort of in that accent. And
Yeah.
he was like all his engines were all revved up to just revolutionize the monarchy. And nobody would, and the mom was like, no,
Eh.
no, I don't care. Too bad.
Hmm.
Man.
And he
I
was
just would think it would
powerless.
be so much pressure.
And he was powerless. I wanted to say that. And that's very hard for a Scorpio person, especially with Pluto in the first house, to feel powerless.
Right.
That could also lead to the Cancer.
Right. I was
Yeah.
gonna say it leads to a lot of dis-ease,
Mhm.
disease. Yeah.
And toxic, intense feelings, Scorpio. And he's not going to take those things lightly. He's a Scorpio sun and Pluto in the first house. He's just
Yeah.
not.
And that's
Right.
with the South Node back in the fourth house, is with,
Yes.
leaving that whatever that shine is or whatever back. Mm.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, I keep looking at the Black Moon Lilith in that first house in Leo, expressive. We just don't know when she's gonna say what she's gonna say. I think that, it's there, it's in the chart, it's in the coronation chart. It's that there's something is going to be said. But it just seems like that I know Black Moon Lilith can't keep her mouth shut.
Exactly. And it crosses Pluto at some point. So we don't know what happened because that was last year May. So maybe there was
Mhm.
something going on a transformative level or in private, I don't know. But it had some
Yeah.
kind of emotional thing around it. Maybe he was having counseling for the anger that he felt, repressed anger from
Right.
those. But when that moon Lilith touches your Pluto, you're gonna feel it. I've had that, so that's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially if you don't know.
it just went over mine this past year. And I've had a lot of
Yeah. very intense, emotional. It's almost like it provokes you in a way that, you know, you just
Yeah.
can't, you have to figure out how to deal with it.
Hmm. Right, and
I think it made me
his
stronger.
coronation chart is set with
Yes.
this.
So maybe it's made him stronger.
It makes you stronger if it doesn't break you, because that's Pluto.
It'd
What
be
doesn't
nice if
kill you,
we had
it's
him
stronger.
here, could ask him.
Yeah.
So Venus in the 11th house. That's, I mean, that's a good signature to have, I think. And maybe conjunct the Uranus can be good or bad. Let's see. So
Well, 11th house is like, large organizations. Maybe he's going to revolutionize something through some kind of large organization and, through some kind of big public platform where he does something inventive or creative, not even so much creative, but inventive, or does something different than they normally would.
All right. Considering this chart by itself as a coronation chart and Venus being in Gemini at 28 degrees, Jupiter will eventually go over it in the next year or so.
Mhm.
And so I feel like some of the things that we're thinking about, the possibilities, and we might be able to start seeing them when that Jupiter and Venus come closer together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, I think Venus is going to lead Gemini before Jupiter gets there. So
Mhm.
maybe when Jupiter gets there, it will do something
Mhm.
for his social status. Hmm.
Hmm.
Right.
All right. I think we may have discussed everything in his chart. Is there anything else we want to say before we stop?
I'm just wondering too about the Saturn and the Neptune in the 8th house. I mean, without knowing him well, or not, or knowing what's going on in his private life, or that's just kind of a interesting thing too.
Well, the thing is, Saturn by now have crossed over his black moon Lilith in the 8th house. I wonder if that's when he announced the Cancer, too. That's
Right.
probably possible.
Mhm.
That's his 8th house.
It makes sense. And then it will be moving into his 9th house, Saturn, which is like the discoveries, some of the stuff that we were talking about, like, he might be financially backing some research into curing cancer or something. And that could be some of that Neptune and Pisces there. It could
And
be part of his legacy, is at least trying to find a cure.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Neptune can be health and some kind of deep research. Also he could be doing some kind of psychological healing, some kind of trauma, emotional healing too. With Saturn
I would hope so.
crossing over his black moon Lilith and Neptune in his 9th house. Yeah, investigating his belief systems, exploring, his spiritual side.
Right? He could be learning that spirituality is sort of like a cure
Mhm.
also.
Mhm. Of course, we're just speculating, but those are the higher ways to use that energy. If he wants to get
Yes.
rid of his cancer, that's one of the ways, certainly.
Right. If he's listening.
well,
Highly
you
unlikely.
remember when I had mentioned his Hygeia, the asteroid Hygeia being in the 2nd house in his natal chart? I did look. It's in the coronation chart. It's in his 7th house in Aquarius. So maybe what you're talking about, like the research or whatever. Because remember, Hygeia in the 2nd house means the possibility of making a ton of money off of some sort of health related something.
Mhm.
So maybe with it in the 7th house, at the time of his coronation, the house of others, you know.
Some
kind
kind
of-
of associates or partners,
maybe he might
partner
put
with
money
someone.
into research of some sort of health.
Hmm.
Right. And in the sign of Aquarius, it's like it's gonna be technological, um,
It runs
you
the
know, reaching
rocks.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
Something revolutionary and inventive and out of the box,
Yeah.
maybe around health, like you said.
He probably already has
He's
it because he's
healing.
got Mars in the 12th house, so it's secretive stuff. He's already got a cure. I'm just, who
Maybe
knows? Yeah.
if he already has a cure, if he has a cure, I'm sure he's using it because
Oh yeah.
that is
If
not something to mess around with.
It's
that's just being speculative, but
Mhm.
um,
What do you guys think of this Mars? I mean, I mentioned it, Mars trining the sun, but I didn't really talk about it. It's a trine. So I guess it's sort of the same thing with, inheriting from the mother and then the son. See, it could be him or it could also be his family lineage in the fourth house. And it's in a trine, so it's something he's meant to inherit.
yeah,
Maybe in a way it's a relief because, he's been waiting so long anyway.
right. And the whole family probably feels that relief of the flow because he finally was coronated, and then the rest of the family can follow suit if that's what's meant to be, or they can decide to do whatever, it feels like maybe just the flow was opened up.
Yeah, like he got his chance before dying.
Yeah. Because that would have been tragic if he died first.
Yeah, and it could have happened
oh yeah.
because it's not like he's young. So
Right.
it very likely could have happened. What is he now? Late 70s or something like that? Yeah, 48,
I think so.
late 70s.
Oh yeah, 48, because that would make him probably 75 or 76.
Um,
Still
Okay,
got
my
some
mother
time.
was born in 47 and she is 70. She just turned 77.
okay,
So
so
maybe he's 76, yeah. Or gonna be maybe 75, about to turn 76. And his son, I mean, that Mars is in a wide sextile to the sun that day of the coronation. So
to
that's good.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not too bad. He's got a couple years more.
The Mars is, sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, I said it's not bad. He's mid-70s. Yeah.
No, not bad, but it's a big responsibility for that age. If he was
Yeah.
already younger and then was already in that position and then turned 70s, he's already grown into it. But it's a lot to take on at that age. I mean,
Yeah.
you have
Okay.
all these I can't think of the word, but ceremonies that they have to attend and stand and give speeches for long hours. I mean, it's
Wow.
Yeah.
exhausting work.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And if you're not feeling well, that cannot be good.
Well, you know that the
Right.
artist picture that he just had done for his coronation against the big red background.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe that's symbolic of how he's feeling, like I've stepped into hell.
You're getting ready for
I
hell.
mean, because it is a lot. I mean, if
Right.
I was 76 years old, I'd be wanting to just, do what I want, go play golf, ride my horse, or whatever
Exactly.
royal people
Yeah.
do when they retire. I don't want to be having to
Instead of
deal with,
taking on this. Exactly.
yeah.
All these long,
Um,
boring joint meetings that he really still doesn't even have the power to make a lot of those decisions because it's their parliament or whatever that makes the decisions. So
Hmm.
he's just like the face for it. And you just have to appear and make these speeches that sound good.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
have to be emotionally detached, which I thought was fascinating again in the show Netflix, how they were explaining how, or they portrayed the scenario around the queen not allowing herself to show emotions. She had to remain very stark. And that's why everyone sees them as really cold and distant, but it's actually her position. She can't take a side.
Right.
So
That's gonna be hard for a Scorpio sun, Taurus
With all
moon,
that.
Leo rising. It
Very
seems like,
stubborn.
yeah, stubborn and wants to just come out with the feelings, and yeah,
And if they don't have a healthy way to express it, they cause a lot of crisis. They will
right,
like burn their bridges down just to, I don't know, to get that toxic thing out. That's
right.
Scorpio. I'm sorry. I mean,
Oh
Hey, and
yeah,
you know what? When you just said
yeah,
that, that made me think of I don't know why just the phrase you said getting that toxic thing out made me think of Diana, the way she died. I mean, you know, there was always the conspiracy that the royals had something to do with that. I don't, again,
right,
speculation, but
right.
well,
Because when you
for
look
him,
at his chart, you wonder where that actually came from. You know,
you mean
where did
the resentment, you
the
mean?
well, the resentment and this taking sides, who took what side against who? It seems like I see chess being played in his chart.
Yeah,
It's
well,
very
Scorpio too can be vindictive. So if
right.
if you're not on his side, then he can hold a grudge against
Mm,
you. And with Pluto in the first house, it's like double reinforcement of this energy. I mean,
mhm.
and it's not something he can help. It's just his nature. It's just what he was born into. So, and he's had to suppress that, because he's an authority figure and royalty. So it's not like he can let everybody know how angry he is if he's angry. So it's all repressed too at that.
Right.
No wonder
yeah,
there's cancer, right?
Yeah, Cancer. And that portrait, where it's all red, it's like
Yeah,
he's on
yeah,
fire. And it's like he
Now
is
that we're
so mad.
now that we're saying that, maybe that's what that's representing, his anger and his
yeah,
vengefulness for what happened to him. And he's lost in the
yeah,
redness. You notice that his image is sort of like blended in with all that.
yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
It looks like somebody standing in hell to me,
Yeah.
Yeah,
or metaphorical hell.
Yeah.
right.
Well, when he's
Your
saying,
own,
when he's
your anger makes your own hell, really.
yes. And I think also he's probably trying to say he's endured hell, all
Yeah,
these years. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Hmm.
and
very
hey,
interesting.
maybe the Black Moon Lilith in the first house of that coronation chart, has something to do with that painting. You know
Yeah.
what
Um,
Yeah.
Interesting. Mm.
Well, that
Probably.
Lilith conjunct Pluto, like I said, can be very
yeah,
intense. And he probably was very emotional at the time of his coronation. Probably all that pent-up anger and rage probably building up in the middle of that coronation. He's probably thinking that, why did she wait for all these years? And now I'm old and I'm
I
lucky
know.
if I get 5, 10, or 10 good years. And he
Right.
has to
right.
suppress it all because he's a public figure. Go up there and perform.
Exactly. Exactly. Mm,
Now, here's something that that I don't know. I know some astrologers will say that certain things in your chart represent your children. Are y'all familiar with that, or
Like
something in
Mars
certain
or
houses?
mhm.
Venus or certain houses, yeah. Fifth house,
Fifth.
Fifth
Mm.
house. Yeah.
house's children,
Huh.
which is ruled by Scorpio again,
And Jupiter rules
and
children.
And
Jupiter's
I
children.
just wonder. I wonder what his thoughts are. On the whole Harry and Meghan thing with them leaving and going to California and not partaking
Right.
in
It might
royal
be
life.
some of that, like, the queen waited too long to give the crown over, and then the kids are just seeing it play out like that from then on, and they're like, I don't know if I want to be a part of this.
But if he's mad at Harry, he's mad at Harry. Okay, he's
Yeah.
Yeah,
holding that. If he is, I don't know. From what I've heard, he is. So
That's with Mars.
Harry will never get back in his heart. So
That's with Mars being
Mm,
conjunct.
no, that's with that Scorpio energy in the fourth house. And just his personality.
mm.
Um,
What is
But
being
Chiron in the fifth could be
yeah,
ending with the child.
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And let's look at, okay, the third house too would be a sibling, and that's ruled by, oh, look at that. It's ruled by Mercury, and it's in Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah, so there'll be some intense feelings towards his sibling. He's not going to like, it's not lost on him. What Harry did is not lost on him.
Interesting. So what did Harry do, I wonder?
Well, he left, and that was that
You know. But is that it? That seems like that's the breaking off part, It seems like that's
Yeah,
just part
probably
that we can
something from
see,
before.
he
you know.
publicly denounced the whole crown thing and what was happening in there, and he even spoke of some of the racism that his wife and his child. I saw the
Right.
interview with him,
Okay,
and
I remember that now, yeah.
so I mean he's outing them, and this is supposed to be secrets. Fourth house, you
See,
never tell those secrets ever. You go to your grave with them. And
mm-hmm.
Harry's like a blabbermouth.
Look at that being be represented by Mars conjunct.
Relate what?
Well, I was just thinking kids, children, fifth
Oh,
house.
well, his children, but not Harry.
Harry is not his.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is
Harry
brother.
is his son.
No, Harry is his brother.
No, that's Andrew.
Oh, we were. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I am.
Yeah, you
kind
were.
I
I was
don't
wondering.
know. So-
Siblings.
I am
Yeah.
talking about the sibling rivalry. I am so lost. Reel that back.
Now Andrew, yeah, now that's somebody I haven't heard about lately. But
I saw
remember,
me going down the rabbit hole on Harry, and nobody stopped me.
I have no. Well, maybe just using the wrong name. That's all.
No. Because here I am lost on William's chart and thinking of Harry, not Charles and his children.
Let's see.
Okay, fifth house wounding with children.
and Andrew, like he has a natal, his natal third house is empty. Charles's is.
Yeah, and I was saying it's ruled by Mercury, but that's a sibling. So no, we don't know about Charles's siblings. At least I don't know anything about them.
Right. I don't know anything.
Well, hey,
I didn't even
I
know
do
he
know
had siblings.
Andrew was in the news a lot couple years back
Yeah.
as being on the Jeffrey Epstein list and making
Oh.
trips there. And there were
Yeah.
pictures of him with teenage
So
girls and stuff.
that's the
And it-
sibling. Okay.
And it was
I
really
forgot about
embarrassing
that.
for the queen. It was embarrassing for the whole royal family.
The whole that's why he basically doesn't exist. Right.
And what's funny too
oh,
is
yeah,
you
we
don't
don't
hear
hear
a
about
word.
him.
Yeah.
You never hear anything about his
Oh, no.
wife or his first wife either, Sarah Ferguson, and their daughters. They just kind of disappeared off the scene.
Well, Sarah Ferguson did try to have a presence, but they disassociated themselves from her. Oh,
All right. I barely remember the Ferguson name. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was doing
She had
something.
red hair.
Yeah, Nutrisystem or some weight loss. What is
Yeah.
it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then they got a recording with her trying to get some kind of bribe from somebody, and that destroyed the rest of her reputation.
Oh,
Or
interesting.
it was weight loss, whatever. They dropped her. So yeah.
That's interesting, considering as an empty third house, that's the
Yeah.
house of siblings, and yeah, they exist. It's it exists.
Hey,
It's just,
he's got another brother, Edward, and you don't ever hear about him either. The youngest one.
I have no
And
idea.
does he have a sister? Are there any
Yes,
sisters? I
there is
forgot.
a sister. Yes.
Oh
Now
my
you mentioned it
gosh.
from the crown. There is a sister. Yeah, but we never hear
I
about
can't think of
her. Yeah.
I can't think of her name.
They implied that the sister was also having an affair with somebody other than who she was married to. Yeah, they didn't imply. They pretty much said that. So
But
yeah,
basically, in order to have the crown passed down to you, you have to walk this fine line of not getting caught doing the things that you're doing. And Charles is like, I did my part.
I was thinking, no wonder she didn't pass it on. When you think about all the siblings, but
It's just like,
you can't operate the way you used to today that you used to 50 years ago, because now there is so much media.
Oh, it's so different. Yeah.
Well, hey, if you think about her, she was a Taurus, which is very
buttoned up,
fixed.
practical.
Yeah.
She probably really felt like none of her children were ready or
Ready.
capable of taking her place.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And that's why she held on until the very end.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now that you're saying that, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, just think of her. She never had a
Right. And
never
she's
had
a
a
Capricorn rising too.
Oh my
yeah.
God,
Capricorn.
really?
She worked
So
till the day she died.
No, she's
yeah.
stoic, like, a statue.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that she wasn't even supposed to inherit the crown. I don't want to go that far back in the story,
Yeah.
but she really
Yeah.
wasn't. Yeah, it was because William's, no, her father ended up with, do you know the story, Sharon? Oh, I thought you were going to say something about it. This is also on the Netflix series. Her father he wasn't supposed to receive the crown, but his brother decided he wanted to marry someone who was already married. So he said he wouldn't take the crown. So his brother inherited the crown, but his brother was sick. So when he died, Queen Elizabeth was only 18.
Yeah.
And she had to inherit it at 18.
Mhm.
Maybe even younger than 18, but yeah.
Well, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
But it's
She-
an interesting story, yeah.
She held it down though for how many years?
And I think for the role that she had to play, she was excellent. I mean, she was a great queen. She was
Yeah.
always respected, as so much a queen can be. I mean,
Yeah, she performed the role better than most men would have.
yeah. I wonder what her husband, how he felt being married to a queen.
Oh, Philip, according to the
Yeah.
Netflix, he really had to step down because he had to even walk one step behind her. He couldn't walk beside her in public. So he didn't even know what his role was in the beginning when they got married because she was the queen and he was the queen's wife. So he came from royalty. But his family, I guess they lost the crown and then she was the best fit for him. So he would stay in the royal bloodline. And so he really had to take a step back to stay in the royal bloodline. It was interesting. They have like 3 or 4 seasons of it, and I watched all of them because it was pretty good.
Well, now you're inspiring me. I'm gonna probably have to watch that.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Lots
And I
of
have it
politics.
written down here that the queen had a Leo moon, actually.
A Leo
Oh, really?
12-degree Leo moon.
That's
Look
perfect.
at
So
where
she
Black
had a
Moon
full moon
listed.
too.
And expect,
What? What about Black Moon Wolf?
A Black Moon Lilith is at 13 degrees.
A
Right
conjunct
there.
moon.
Yeah, conjunct her moon.
Oh wow.
You know, when she passed, basically.
Oh, that was
Essentially.
a transit.
Yeah, the transit, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Well, that would
Transiting
make
Black
sense.
Moon.
I mean, Black
Yeah.
Moon Wolf maybe on your moon.
Right. But that also
I thought
puts the queen's moon in his first house.
yeah.
So
Conjunct is Pluto?
pretty much. And not,
Yes.
4 degrees
no.
apart, but yeah.
Yeah. Close.
Well, she did cause him a lot of emotional pain and frustration. So. Well, she was trying to transform him into being, the king at some.
Right. Because it sounds like her story of how she became a queen is quite transformative. And so she was like, well, I'll just teach you how to transform into the king. And he, probably just didn't listen, probably people not listening in the way that she wanted them to listen.
Yeah, you know what though? He felt ready really early, but I really think that he was being punished for what he did with Diane. He was supposed to stay in line and he didn't. He broke ranks.
Yeah.
That was his punishment.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he didn't want the crown enough because he would have stayed if that's what it meant to him. He preferred,
Right. But he's so emotional,
Yeah, and that Neptune and Venus right there on his eye, see that, romantic with all that watery energy. No, he's gonna choose love.
Yeah. Yeah. At least his emotions. He's gonna choose his emotion.
Yeah,
Whether it's
because it's
love
not
or
necessarily
anger.
love. It could be rage and vengeance, but it's gonna be
Yeah.
emotional.
Yeah. You know, maybe the queen felt like she had to kind of keep him kind of locked up per se because of his emotions. I don't know.
Oh, maybe, because she would know him better than we would.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she knew that he was a little bit too intense.
Yeah.
And as a king, you're not supposed to be emotional. You're supposed to remember I was saying how we have to be stoic. Maybe she
Yeah.
trusts that he would be able to, keep it in check.
Right. Yeah. You know, that's just something a mother does sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he probably would have handled it just fine because he can transform himself. He's got
Mm-hmm.
Pluto in the
It's the
first house.
nature of the Scorpio to
Yeah,
transform.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I thought we were ending and we got deeper into his chart.
Right, right. It's really interesting looking at somebody's chart or at least a transit that just seems so perfect.
I know,
Gosh.
I know. When they make sense, they make sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think we covered everything. I don't even see anything else there is to talk about. Part of fortune is in the eighth house. His inheritance certainly was, fortunate.
Hmm. But then in the coronation chart, their part of fortune is in the fifth house, the house of children.
And luck.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
And Sagittarius, um, you
Which is
know,
also uh, a good place for it.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I don't want this video to be filled with silence, so.
yeah.
Yep, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was
That was
really good.
great.
Thank you,
Mhm.
everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Till next time, we'll figure out what we'll discuss next.
Yep.
Bye.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening.